Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Now, coronavirus has been a hot topic of conversation on every single timeline. I mean, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you're going to seek your content, coronavirus has probably been the top of it. So I don't want to talk about that today simply because of the fact that I'm just not an expert in that topic, and I'm also trying to bring something different to your timeline than what you already have going on. So today's been kind of interesting. I feel as though I finally got a breakthrough with something that I've been dealing with over this past week. First and foremost, God has been good. I'm so thankful that I made it to today. There's so many things that I've dodged throughout the week that I may not have even known about that I know God has done some great things with. And I know probably the same thing with you. There's just so much going on in the world that being able to make it from last Sunday to this Sunday is just a praise all in itself, because of the fact that there's so many things that are just happening that just didn't happen to you. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to still connect with you one more time. But I was listening to this Michael Todd sermon earlier today. This wasn't the one that he preached today, but it was still like beyond relevant to my life right now. And he talked about David and Goliath. Now, even if you've been to church like once in your life, or even just as a child, everyone kind of like knows the story of David and Goliath, probably knows Ark, and probably heard of Adam and Eve. Like, those are the staple stories that we all have heard of throughout our lives. But I think that most people don't recognize the amazing backstory that David had prior to just slaying the giant of Goliath. And it was interesting because Michael Todd talked about, it wasn't all focused on David and Goliath, but that was a big component of the storytelling that Pastor Michael Todd did. And he shared how before David slayed Goliath, he used to be a shepherd watching over goats and sheep. And when he did that, he had to slay lions and bears. Those were the problems that he had at that level. He would have to slay the lions and slay the bears to protect his goat and his sheep. And that was what was really important for that community, for lack of better words, at that time. The goats and the sheep were a very important possession to have. That was important livestock. And so the king at the time, Saul, he was looking for someone to fight this giant Goliath. And so David was like, oh, I could do it. And Saul was kind of like, oh, you're just a little boy. Now, pause for a second, because have you ever been in a space where people are just looking at you like, oh, you're just this, or, you're only a freshman, you can't do it, or you only got 1 degree, you can't do it. Or, there's always these voices and people around you that are saying all these no's to you, or naysayers just in general, and you hear all this noise. And I feel like for me this past week, I even had an experience with that. And I was talking to my grandma. I'm gonna get back to David, but I was talking to my grandma this past week, and I was sort of telling her how I felt like I was in the midst of a whole bunch of naysayers, or just distractions, people holding me back. And she was like, well, that's a good thing. And I was like, Grandma, how is people holding me back a good thing? And she was like, well, you know that you're not in the back of the line. And I was like, she was like, yeah, people can't hold you back if you're in the back of the line, so you have to be in the front. And I was like, wow, that's good. So that's my point number one for you, is simply that if people are in the midst of holding you back, you feel like you're being held back, there's a whole bunch of naysayers on your doorstep constantly, that's because they know, you may not be able to see it, but they know that you're not in the back and that you're in the front, and you're going, and they're just trying to pull you back to the back of the line. But baby, keep on in the front. That's my point number one. Point number two, back to David. So Saul was like, you're just a little boy, you can't fight Goliath. David was like, yeah, I can. I've slayed lions and I slayed bears back when I was protecting my goats and my sheep. And so, obviously we know David was successful in the end of being able to slay Goliath. But what I wanted you to take away from that whole story, in the end, the second point that I have for you is that God will throw you into problems on a lower level so that you can be prepared for what bigger problems are to come when you reach that next level. And so you can go to 1 Samuel, read up on the story to really make sure you get the whole story. I'm really summarizing it and streamlining it down. But it's really important that you understand that you're being thrown into problems right now to prepare you for what's to come. So as you go through this upcoming week, I really, really strongly encourage you to think, okay, I'm faced with a problem right now. In what ways have I already tackled this problem at a lower level that I can solve this problem now? And in what ways is this problem going to help me for the next level where I'm trying to go? Hopefully you have a wonderful week and enjoy. Bye-bye.